Welcome to the Bethesda suggestion of the Bane Mechanic video. In this video, you're going to see my suggestion to Bethesda. Definitely, it is not endorsed by Bethesda. I'd like to come out and say that right away. I don't want to get sued by my favorite game company of all time. Okay? You, Bethesda and Working Designs. You know, it's like, developers, whatever, you know. Anyway, I've got my Dark Brotherhood, we know the Fate of Keen. Okay, we understand what this is. If you don't know what this is, I'm sorry for you. It is the most entertaining questline in Skyrim, Elder Scrolls 5, the Fate of Keen. Okay, so, and anyway, you know, I love to mix genres like a bad habit, so if I like it and it's a good genre, I would love to see them mashed together like, you know, your grandma at a buffet who puts like, you know, pudding and potatoes and peas and, you know, whatever into this giant mess of nutrition. But that being said, I don't know what that was. That was a crazy segue, but whatever. Okay, so the Bane Mechanic. The Bane Mechanic, my suggestion of the Bane Mechanic, and they're very close to it. Bethesda's very close. Other companies have come close to it. But I'm kind of looking for a development tree similar to Skyrim for weapons, where they become Bane weapons. Now, if you remember, where I'm kind of getting this vibe is from The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And when they got Glamdring, and the orcs would see it, and they're like, oh, it's the foe hammer, and it's the orc slayer, and, you know, it's like they knew what the blade was. It had a reputation, it had a specific design, it had specific abilities. And what I'd like to see, my suggestion for Bethesda is adding a Bane mechanic to weapons going forward in I keep wanting to say Skyrim 6. I would love to see, I would totally buy a second Skyrim. I think they know that too. I think at Bethesda they're like, you know, we can make a sequel to Skyrim and the half of the planet would probably buy it. I know that's tough. That's a tough position. They've got to change it up. They've always been good about that. They take you somewhere else. They take you somewhere else, even when they might want to stay right where they were. They could have probably come out with another Morrowind or another Oblivion, you know, or a Cyrodiil again, or, you know, that kind of thing. And I think that's why they tried to give us the online component, which I'm not big on. But anyway, all I want to say is, what I'm looking for in the Bane mechanic is take your weapon. If your weapon kills organically, just kills a certain number of opponents. Let's say it's Falmer. You know, Falmer's great because I loathe the Falmers. I would not use their arrows unless I have nothing else and I'm in their cave. You know, if I can go somewhere and buy arrows or make them, I'll do that as opposed to using Falmer arrows, which are junk anyway, but it's like, why? You know, they're just so despicable, you know, what they do, the way they are truly fallen and to be despised, the Falmer. But, you know, I'm sure they try to make you pity them in Skyrim, you know, it's like, oh, this is what they used to look like, and, you know, they used to be this, like, you know, he's holding a book, look, he's holding a book, and a torch, and, you know, both are Masonic, but anyway, the people of the book, and the flame, and, you know, whatever. Okay, so if you get it, if you're in on it, you're in on it. But at any rate, all I'm trying to say is that while you're fighting, what I always thought was, I'm like, I like this weapon, but I'm going to have to switch it up. I'm going to have to leave it off. I can take it, you know, I can put an enchantment on there. I can put an undead enchantment on there, which to me is like artificially, it hasn't earned it. You're just like magically saying, okay, you're going to hurt undead, and there you go. But let's say it's for undead. Let's say you kill 150 skeletons, and you know, I think there could be levels. It could be just one big horde. Like, hey man, you kill 1,000 skeletons, this thing becomes a skeleton menace. A skeleton menace. So when you introduce the Bane mechanic, you introduce the Bane mechanic, you could say, okay, hey, you've reached a certain level of killing skeletons. They now recognize this weapon. Whether you want to name it or it takes on a name, maybe it takes on a name and it gives you the option to change. I kind of like that, because when you get some of the creative people and the writers out there and they put something together where they're like, this is the, I'm reaching here, but, maybe it's the bone cracker. Or they write something better than I can think up of or would put on it. I'm like, well, leave that. But then I might want to name it. I might want to name it. It's Skull Crusher, or, and maybe it's a little bit more fanciful. Maybe it's, Glamdring kind of vibe where, it takes on an elvish name. Is it an elvish weapon? It takes on an elvish name. It becomes famous. But it happens organically. It's earned. Just like you have to go out and earn it, and you're changed by the experiences of the game. Okay, when you go out there, I'm a wanderer, man. I wander and I find different stuff and I change my look. I change my direction. I'm a two-handed guy. I'm a stealth archer. I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other. I'm more of a healer now. I'm non-violent. I'm a sneaker. I'm this, I'm that. It's like you can have multiple experiences just with the one playthrough. And not even multiple playthrough, where you can dedicate yourself to, okay, I'm going to be full assassin, I'm going to be full magic and whatever. I have a hard time being a purist in these games, because they're set up to allow you to do that, but I get pulled. I'm like, hey, I'm interested in this. I want to go experience that, and I can. There's no limits on me, and I love that. I still am in love with that since Morrowind. Is like, there are no limits. I don't have to limit myself. I can go experience that. I can go run the Thieves Guild, and I can go run the Dark Brotherhood. I can run the Mages Guild. I can go and enjoy and experience all those different things. The Mara love quests, I had fun doing those, so it's like, I want the same type of thing for your weapon. If you find yourself like me, the Falmer made me think about this. Because I had a weapon, I got caught in a dungeon, it was way bigger than I thought it was, I didn't think I was going to get out, I was relatively low level, and I just had this one, two-hander that just got me through, along with a lot of sneaking. I wasn't very stealthy either, and that was a big problem. But I eventually got out of there. And, I'm like, I'm going to have to give this up, really, if I want to kind of progress my character or move on or do something else. And I really didn't want to. All the experiences that I had with this virtual, group of pixels, I wanted to keep it. I wanted to keep it and take it on other games. That's another thing. Retain the Bane weapons. See if you can now. There's no reason you can't. Bethesda, set up a Bethesda server and keep your Bane weapons there and take them with you, or run across them. That's the other thing I think Bethesda would run wild with, is if you create a Bane weapon and they have a way to track or record, or you're willing to allow them to do that. I know Big Brother, all that stuff, but, if you said, Bethesda saw, was able to see, oh man, this guy killed 10,000 skeletons with this weapon. It's full-blown Bane weapon. Take that and put that into the next iteration. Put that into the DLC. Tie you in. Just say, hey, are you willing to release that as a Bane weapon for the game? Or how about we make that weapon for you? That's where it's all going. Custom swag. Where, hey, I have this Bane weapon. You send it to your 3D printer. Boom, there it is. So, part of the reputation as well with populations. This is the other thing that is probably something Bethesda's already thought about. Again, this is nothing, I'm not saying this is anything new under the sun. The people of Bethesda are game geniuses. I love it. I buy all their products and swag. I'm a dedicated fan. I understand how intelligent these people are. Okay, and creative and funny, and that's my big tip off is when I see people put really dry or really cutting humor or satirical stuff in their products. That's a sign of high intellect. It just is. Funniness and intelligence are like this. They're basically, to me, the same thing. But tie it to a population. There may have been limitations in the software. I mean, they pack so much into Skyrim, and this system is, I mean, you can play it on a 360 or a PS3, and it's still amazing, still amazing. The populations are very low, the towns are very small. I understand that was a limitation, but man, does it take away from the experience of the gameplay? Negligibly. That's a big vocab word. So, part of the reputation of the weapon, your own reputation, and population. So, you know, when we're going into values for Bane weapons, where we say, you're going to kill 1,000 Falmer, or 10, you know, it's multiples of 10. So at 100, it starts to acquire a reputation. At 1,000, you know, it creates them to frenzy when they see that. You know, again, tie a passive, not necessarily, I don't know if you call it passive, that's not a magical attack. It's not a you know, again, it can be when you strike them, it should have some effect, but it should also have an atmospheric effect, if I could say that. An atmospheric effect. So, you know, they see it, you draw it, they see it, they frenzy, or they run. You know, if they're a certain level, they run, and if they're another level, they gang you. You know, it's like, boom, they're on you. Like, we have to get him. So, you know, shout the name. Again, that's why I think you should have them previously named. So if they want to record voiceover, so they can shout the name and just say Glamdring, as they do in the Lord of the Rings. They go insane when they see those weapons. Some flee, some frenzy, you know, and I'm just using that as kind of the prima facie example of what I'm talking about. That is the examples. When they see that weapon drawn, they freeze. Again, maybe it's a paralyze for 2 seconds, you know, or whatever. I mean, the existing effects or new effects. And I'd like to hear in the comments, if they introduce this Bane mechanic, what kind of effects would you like to see? And if you reduce a certain number of the population, let's say that there is a number somewhere out there, an algorithmic number of Falmer, the total population number, and you take it down by a certain percent, you know, okay, well, we'll say, and make a genocide. I don't know whether you should make a genocide attainable. I would probably make it attainable, but make it crazy attainable. Think about that for ongoing gameplay. Let's say there's a population in the game of Elder Scrolls 6 of 100,000 Morag Tong. There's 100,000 or 50,000. Make it big but approachable. 50,000 is an approachable number. Let's say you get your Bane Weapon up to 10,000. You've killed 1/5 of the total population of that group. What are they going to do about you at that point? Does that become, and I know that there are retribution scenarios in Skyrim and Morrowind, okay, and Oblivion. I understand that. But take it to the next level. Sega. Okay. So take it to the next level. You've decimated, you've killed 1 out of every 5 of this Assassin Guild's membership. What happens then? The mind, the possibilities boggle the mind. They just do. And again, if it's a Bane weapon, I think again it should be a double-edged sword. So it's you know, it's going to give you influence in fighting them, but it's also going to create issues for you, as they do in Skyrim. But I mean, I'm thinking issues to a certain point where you might think to yourself, I've killed 20,000 Morag Tong, and they will not get up off me. Maybe I should just go ahead for the 50. And then if you get their population down, maybe you kill 30,000, there's only 20,000 left. They're going to get more careful. It should crescendo. It should reach a certain point where you're like, man, I can't swing a dead cat without finding one of these assassins in a basket, or whatever. I mean, they are just coming out of the walls. And then once you decimate them, if you're successful, you decimate them, they're going to pull back. They're going to act more cautiously. And they're going to be more selective. Maybe they'll go for a poison option. Again, there you go. Poison, even in master level, which I've been playing in Skyrim, is nothing. I mean, here's something where maybe they debilitate you for an extended period of time. Maybe you lose some experience because you have to go and recover for a few weeks. Make it a little bit more impactful. And then you'll be way cautious. But then you have the option at that point to take your Bane Weapon and completely eliminate them. Think about the replay of that. Think if you reach the crescendo point and stop playing for a while. You reach the crescendo point, they're like, oh, they're all over me. I gotta take a break from this game. And then you relax, you refresh yourself, and then you come back and you say, you know what? I'm going in. I've completed the main game. I've finished the main game. I've finished all the quest lines I'm interested in. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to get the Tong. And I'm going to eliminate them. Then I'm going to pick my other group. I mean, talk about replay value. Where you can go to these groups. Maybe you make them just evil groups. Maybe you make them good groups. Maybe it's a free-for-all. Maybe, again, put it up to a point. Here's another suggestion. Here we go. So you're killing this Tong. You've got them down to 10,000 members or 5,000 members or really down to 1,000 individuals. So they're on the brink and they know it. And they have to make an alliance of survival, not just of convenience, of survival. They realize that we cannot stop this person from destroying us utterly. We have to seek help from a Daedra, a curse, again, poison, a curse, assistance from a Daedra, assistance from another group, bribe a friend. Again, betrayal, they play with betrayal. It's another opportunity to play with betrayal. So in Elder Scrolls 6. So I think there's a Bane mechanic and a population mechanic that can come together to really create and have it be organic. So you can start off with a dagger in your hand and it can become the deadliest weapon to a particular group if that's what you want to do. If that's what you want to do, it will become the most famous. And then when, again, there's another Daedra element that can be pulled in, it becomes a Bane weapon of the highest order. Then a Daedra, based on, based on your actions, based on your alliances, based on whatever, a Daedra may intercede and say, you've earned... I despise the Falmer and everything they stand for, and I choose to, I choose to put my mark upon this blade, and it is now my, my token. It is now my token in Tamriel in the physical world, blah blah blah. And every time you kill a Falmer with this token, well then you'll, whatever. Experience it, what have you. Can you take the Bane Enchantment? Once you've earned the Bane Enchantment, can you add it to other things? Can you take the Bane element? I think personally it should be earned and only earned, and that would make it valuable. One of the things I notice about Skyrim is a lot of things are earned, but then a lot of things are handed to you as well. So I would prefer to work for them because that's the kind of game it is. It's a lifestyle game. It's a game that you play over and over, and not over and over, but on and on and on and on. And I got to tell you, I would consider myself, I'm going to go out on a big limb here. Big limb. Big limb. I consider myself a thorough gamer. one of the things I like about those games is they reward thoroughness. You know, if you search more, you find more. And I've played through Skyrim several times. And I'm going back through right now on Master. And what I notice is I'm still finding new stuff. I'm finding new quests. I'm finding new unmarked locations. I've even watched videos of hidden unmarked locations, and I've done all like my research before I went back in. I'm like, I want to see it all. And I watched hours and hours of videos on Skyrim play, and believe it or not, I hate to say it, but I don't hate to say it. It's just, you know you're a geek at that point when you're watching and you're just fascinated with other people's gameplay of a game that you've played through multiple times. And you're still watching it and you're still fascinated. And you still find things new. And I found a ton of new stuff in those videos. But then when I went back to play, I found even more stuff. And I'm not talking dozens, but man, I'm talking like between 5 and 10 things I'd never seen or experienced, in addition to what I learned from some of the gameplay that I watched. So, you know, I mean, what do you say? I mean, what do you say to that except thank you? Thank you, Bethesda. So that ends my video for the Bane Mechanic, population mechanic, but it's really overarchingly the Bane Mechanic. And it sounds good, doesn't it? The Bane Mechanic. So I'm going to submit this on the Bethesda's Facebook page. I'm going to put it on my YouTube page. But, you know, like it, subscribe it. I'm going to put some gameplay from DD Zeta, who cosplayed the Dark Brotherhood female outfit. Why do they get the cool stuff? This is what we get. You know, this is what we get. And the Bethesda, or on the Bethesda site, the Dark Brotherhood hoodie looks like a drug dealer pedophile hoodie. I mean, it's just ugly. And I know it's the Dark Brotherhood, but I wish it was like black and sleek like the female's gear. The female's gear looks just awesome. Like black and sleek like the female's gear. The female's gear looks just awesome. And the guy's gear is just like, yeah, man, you want to buy some crack? I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't like it.